revolution will be live.
Now, this video is perfect timing because I'm going to be doing some James Bond review videos highlighting my favorite films from that long-running and mostly awesome franchise. Forget Harry Potter and its insipid spin-offs. Nobody cares about that anymore, or J.K. Rowling. But yeah, Daniel Craig Mads Mikkelsen, for my money, the best Hannibal Lecter ever. And then second best would be definitely that Glaswegian dude. I've forgotten his name now. Brian Cox. How am I getting a brain fart moment? There you go. I thought I'd leave that in his video. I wasn't going to edit that part out. But yeah, they're going to be talking about Casino Royale, directed by Martin Campbell back in 2006. And the infamous chair scene. Yeah, I'll be covering that in great detail for sure. So without further ado, let us go over to these two handsome specimens. Daniel Craig looks a bit tired, but I don't blame him. Good old onion face. I do love Daniel. And, yeah, this should be an interesting... I wonder what... I have no idea what these two are going to say, so this is my first time watching it. If it drags on a bit or there's nothing very interesting, I'll just probably do edited highlights, and I'll make sure to reflect that in the title of the video. So without further ado, let us go over and watch these two dudes reunite and talk about the ball-busting chair scene. Yeah, I had to get it in somehow.
I remember it vividly, but I'm curious, Daniel, do you remember?
Do I remember the day I met you? No.
No.
I do remember the casting process very well.
It's breaking my heart.
Because I'd seen Push It.
Yeah, Push is a good film.
I was in one of those situations where they were asking me about casting in a James Bond movie.
Hey, my man.
James Bond, and I still was trying to come to terms with the fact that I was playing James Bond. And your name came up, and I was like, yes!
The Shifra.
Because all I cared about was getting great actors in the film. I mean, that's all. Yeah. Your name came up, and I just bit their hand off.
But you might remember it as a fitting or costume fitting. I was there, and it's true, they dressed me in a tuxedo. But I was supposed to do the casting, the torture scene with you. That was it. So I was just waiting around, and you were casting the Bond girls. So it was a day of complete chaos. Right. And we, at that point, I'm not sure, can I say this? You were smoking. So we had a cigarette all of a sudden together. Oh, and then Martin Campbell came up, and he was just so stressed out. And he walked up to me and said, "Hi, Mads. Oh, sorry, I don't have time for you."
The only guy who can revitalize Bond and do it so well.
I was a little confused, and he came back and said, "Mads, you don't understand. You got the part. I don't want to see you. Just fuck home." And then you took a drag of your cigarette and you said the famous word, "Who did you fuck?" I did 6 castings for this. That was our first meeting.
God, I can't believe how witty I was.
You were so witty. But you were also a smoker then.
Yeah.
I never understood all these. It's the simplest thing to cause more pain than a man can possibly enjoy.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, it was. In the book, they take a wicker chair and they cut it out with a butterfly knife. I think they kind of do in the film.
Yeah, it's a butterfly knife.
It's just a whip. It's like a kind of like a horse whip, I think, in the book. Mm.
Oh, wow, even more painful.
Yeah, well, it was painful either way, but where did the rope come from? Do you know where the rope...
With the knot?
Knot, yeah.
Don't know, but I do remember we had an extensive conversation with Martin Campbell, and we were like, because we came from rock and roll film, we were just diving into that scene, and we came up with so many cool ideas. And Martin was listening, and then at a certain point he said, guys, come back. It's a Bond film. We just left that. We were somewhere else.
I squeezed some stuff in there.
It was always a scene that was like on the edge. We were never sure whether it's going to be in there or not, because it was on the edge for a Bond film.
Yeah.
So,
and I have to say, so I'm sitting in a chair which had, and I'm naked, kind of. Yeah. I was naked.
Pretty naked.
I think so. And I had I don't know what it was made of. It was not, I mean, it was fine and it worked, but it was a sort of thing that was the shape of my backside in the chair, which I sat in.
To stop the knot.
Was actually swinging that thing right up under the chair, and it was hitting me as hard as it sounded. So I had to kind of give over to the fact that this thing wouldn't break because he was.
It did break.
Fuck out of it.
It did break.
It did break. Right, it did.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah.
And it was made of some. It was made of some plywood, so you got splinters going like that. It was a wonderful day for me.
Yeah.
You maybe not as much. I mean, it was a brutal day, obviously.
No,
It was 8 hours of you screaming your lungs out. It was insane.
You know what was so fabulous was that it was one of those situations where I was nervous. I was nervous about everything every day. I mean, that's why I kind of wonder what I was. I can't imagine the person I was that you saw back then, because I was so uptight, not uptight, but just kind of jangling nerves about everything. And because I was just, everything was just so important. And I remember doing that day, knowing that the scene was good, knowing that it was like kind of on the edge. And you came in and you just smacked it out of the park.
The only question remains.
Will you yield?
Will you yield in time?
You were so like in it. You was all of the things that I just was like, oh, it's just, and then it was joyful because it was just an acting scene.
I've got a little edge.
Down there. Would you mind?
I was just as nervous, obviously performing in not my mother tongue, but at the same time, what you were like, I would say. I mean, you were Bond, and I knew the pressure you were having on you, and I also saw some of the headlines before we even shot one scene. And everybody, it's the crown jewels of English cinema, right? And I was just thinking one day, and when I saw a headline, it was like, before we had shot the scene, I was like, oh my God, that is insane pressure you're under. But I remember you as stubborn in the way that this is what we're doing. Let's go for it. Let's just go for it. If you were nervous, I couldn't tell. You just grabbed it and then you ran with it.
Aim for the stars, I might hit treetops. It was just like, it was one of those things where you go,
in this case, aim for his balls.
Yeah, there you go. That's all right. I did one.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
You know,
you'll be the second George Lazenby then.
Yeah, I was just
right.
Mads.
No, to the right, to the right, to the right. You are a funny man,
Mr. Bond.
I also remember very vividly, like the poker.
Listen, I've enjoyed every single Bond film that Danny has been in. It's been absolutely wonderful to see the development of the films. And just to wrap it up from where we started, there was not 1 second that I was in doubt that you would be the best Bond ever since we did the first scene together. And I know that you were full of doubts, and it was a brutal, brutal journey. But I was sure you nailed it, and you showed them all.
You're a very lovely man.
You are.
You're exceptional in this film, and the movie is just beautiful, and it's magnificent work.
Daniel, we'll see you out there.
Oh man, that was awesome. So that's from Variety's official YouTube channel, and that's their Dream Team series. This is the first one I've seen actually, so I'm glad I caught it and reacted to certain moments within that interview. And now what Mads said, he thinks that Daniel Craig is the best Bond ever. I will counter argue that when I start my reviews in the next few weeks. It's going to be interesting. Daniel Craig is definitely up there, maybe my top 2 Bonds anyway. So yeah, I don't think he's my number 1. Although every time I do rewatch some of Craig's films, I do kind of meander between who I've got as my number 1 originally, who's now number 2, and back and forth. But wow, these two gentlemen are just truly, truly awesome actors. I know I use the word awesome a lot in a lot of my reaction videos, but it's true, they are. And thank you very much for watching these edited highlights for Variety's Dream Team series on their YouTube channel, and I will see you on my next upload. Mwah.